Hi, welcome back to the channel. It's always weird. I never know what to say at the beginning. Like, hi, welcome back. Hey. Anyways, this video is me making my final prediction on how I think the season's going to end up. So, after I've listened to my 32 fans and after I've taken some time to reflect, I have decided on the 7 teams that I think that will make the playoffs in the AFC and the 7 teams that I think that will make the playoffs in the NFC. And I wanted to make a video and share my thoughts because we all know most of the time I get it wrong, but who knows? Maybe this will be the thing I get right. But anyways, let's see what I have to say about this. Before I start my list, I just want to say I don't have these in any particular order. I don't think, I'm not smart enough to have it all lined up and to say who I think is going to win the division and different things like that. However, obviously, there's a couple of teams that will be in here that will win the division, and that's what will get them in the playoffs. But I don't know who will have the better record. I don't know how that's going to play out, but these are just my 7 teams from the AFC that I think are going to make the playoffs and my 7 teams from the NFC that are going to make the playoffs. And as I get through this list, I will give my 2 cents on why I think that they will make the playoffs, and then we'll just go from there. So before I give my detailed information about who I think and why I think and all these things, I thought it would be a great idea to actually list out the teams in the NFC that I think are going to make the playoffs this year. And also, if I edit this correctly, the list will appear as I'm going through the list of teams. So we have the Lions, Packers, Niners, Eagles, Falcons, and Rams, Bears. So those are the 7 I have. So Lions, Packers, Niners, Eagles, Falcons, Rams, Bears. The reason why I think the Lions are going to be in the playoffs, I think it's fairly simple. I think they were onto something last year. I love how aggressive the coach is. And let's be honest, if the receiver catches the ball last year, the Lions actually beat the 49ers. So I have no reason to think that the Lions will not make the playoffs this year, and have no reason to think the Lions just won't continue to get better. They also, none of their coaches left. And so it's like, same thing, same situation, just working harder, just making sure that they make better decisions, maybe get a higher seed this year, and then move forward in that regard. Then you have the Packers and Jordan Love. I think we saw who Jordan Love is going to become. I am looking for Jordan Love to take a little step forward this year. I don't think he started the season off great last year, but I'm thinking that this is the year where he comes back and he's ready to go and he starts the season off pretty good, therefore leading his team to a playoff berth. I do think, if I'm not mistaken, the Packers have one of the youngest NFL teams, but they were all young last year and they played together well. And I'm looking for Jordan Love to just take a step up this year. And so that is why I have the Packers making the playoffs this year. I said the Packers. Who is that? So that's the reason why I have the Packers making the playoffs this year. Then obviously I have to go with the 49ers. I would be an idiot not to pick the 49ers. I actually think on paper the 49ers might have the best team all around and might have the best head coach. That could be debatable, but I would be an idiot not to add the 49ers into this. And so I'm going to add them into this because I think that they have the potential to win their division. If they don't win their division, they're for sure going to be in the playoffs, in my personal opinion. Then I have the Eagles. I think the Eagles are going to rebound this year. I think that they have paid the people they needed to pay. I also think it will be interesting to see how they play this year, knowing that on the offensive side of the ball, their captain and Jason Kelsey has retired, and then on the defense side of the ball, Fletcher Cox has retired. So it'll be interesting to see how the Eagles rebound this year. But I think the Eagles are hungry, and I think they're determined to do better this year. And so I have high hopes for the Philadelphia Eagles this year, and I think they're going to be in the playoffs. And that's just where I'm going to stand on. And so until they prove me wrong, I am going with the Eagles. You obviously have already heard my list because I said it at the beginning of this. This is the only team I have making the playoffs from the NFC East. I don't trust Dallas. I don't know what Dallas is doing, so I'm just going to leave them off the list, quite frankly, so I don't even have to talk about them. Then you have the Falcons. It's obvious. I picked the Falcons at the end of the season last year. I liked what they were doing. I liked how they were building. I like their coaching change. I don't even want to talk about the draft, but I think they did what needs to be done. I also have the Falcons up here because I think that the NFC South is a weaker division, and I think it's almost prime for somebody to step in and win that didn't win last year. I feel like that division does weird things like that, and I think the Falcons are primed for that. I think this is going to be the year the Falcons make the playoffs. They were so close to winning so many games last year, and I think they got better at quarterback. I think they have a better head coach. They obviously have Bijan Robinson. Hook 'em. I really believe that the Falcons will make a push this year, and I think they'll be on the playoffs. I think they'll win their division. The other team that I will say that I have here is the Rams. I will be honest and tell you, I don't know a lot about the Rams, but I feel like something about them makes me feel good. I don't know if it's just me not knowing a lot about the West, and I think that they're a better team than somebody would be in the NFC East or that will be in the NFC South. But I just feel like the Rams are primed this year to make the playoffs. Now, they also are dealing with a big hole on defense, but I think McVay will have them ready to go, and I trust their ability to do what they need to do. The last team I'm going to mention is the Chicago Bears. And one thing about the Bears, they got rid of Justin Fields. They thought that Justin Fields wasn't the guy, but they brought in a guy in Caleb Williams that they think is the guy. And they basically are building this offense around him and this offensive line around him to be successful. Historically, the Bears have always had a great defense, so I have no reason to question if their defense is going to be good. But if Caleb Williams is who they think Caleb Williams is going to be, playoffs is the minimum that Caleb Williams has to do for this team this year. Yes, he's a rookie. Yes, you can say maybe that expectation isn't fair, but when you get rid of a quarterback and replace him with a quarterback, a first round pick, and you build your team and have great receivers and build your offensive line and do things for that quarterback to be successful, the only way to go is up. And so that means that they would have to be in the playoffs this year. And so I have the Bears in the playoffs this year. Yes, I'm very aware that gives me three NFC North teams, but I really believe that that division is going to be really strong this year. And I think that they have the potential to get there. And so that is my list. I will throw it back up there on the screen just one more time. I have the Lions, the Packers, the Niners, the Eagles, the Falcons, the Rams, and the Bears. And that is who I'm rolling with. And I know some people are going to watch this and are going to be like, what about Dallas? Or what about this team? Or what about that team? I don't trust those teams. And so I did not add them to my list. And this is my list, so that is why I'm doing it this way. Who knows what will happen? I probably have all of this wrong, but that's okay. The next thing I'll go over is to the AFC. AFC is always an interesting division. Obviously, my team's in the division, so I feel like I know more about the AFC just because of that. That's not necessarily true, but I just feel that way. And so my AFC list probably isn't going to shock anybody. Well, probably because I think I might be being a little bit of a homer here, but let's just get to the list. So I have Kansas City, Baltimore, the Jets, the Steelers, the Colts, and the Bengals. As you can tell by this list, I did not put the Dolphins on the list because I just don't believe in the Dolphins, and I'm not sure what the Dolphins are going to do. I also did not put the Bills on this list, and I think that that is going to be an interesting thing to see what the Bills look like this year. I don't know what to think of the Bills. I feel like they lost a ton on that team, and I just don't know how they're going to recover from that, so I left the Bills off of here. I also obviously have mentioned the Dolphins. I don't really know what to do with the Dolphins. Like, I don't know. If part of me thinks the Dolphins are a good football team, the other part of me just thinks that the Dolphins is a really flashy football team. I hate to say this, but I just don't respect what the Dolphins are doing. And maybe respect isn't the right word. I just don't know what really they're doing. And so I didn't add them to this list. The other thing I do want to mention that I do have on the list is the Colts, because I think the Colts are going to be an interesting team this year. I don't know why I feel that way about the Colts. I don't know what in me is making me feel like the Colts are going to create this thing. I think it's just because Anthony Richardson. I think because I just feel like he might do some things that we're not thinking about this year. And let's be honest, if Anthony Richardson has a good year this year and the Colts turn out to be a sleeper this year, I think it's going to get very interesting for the AFC because we don't really know what they're going to do. And they were a couple of plays away from last year for making the playoffs without Anthony Richardson. So welcoming him back, knowing some moves they made in the off season, shoring up that offensive line, I just feel like the Colts might be primed to do something here. So I decided to add them to my list. Yes, I have the Steelers. I don't really know. They're on the list. What do you want me to say? Okay, it's my team. They're on the list. The other thing that I also did, which might receive some whatever, is I put the Bengals on the list and not the Browns on the list. Obviously, the most important thing when it comes to the Bengals is Joe Burrow's health. The Bengals go as far as Joe Burrow's health goes. I think Joe Burrow is a great quarterback. And I just don't know if he can stay healthy. I think that's always the $1,000,000 question is Joe Burrow healthy? And so if Joe Burrow stays healthy, I'm rolling with the Bengals. If Joe Burrow goes down, then maybe the Browns slide over into that spot, or maybe Jacksonville slides over into that spot. Maybe the Bills slide over into that spot. But obviously, I hope everybody stays healthy this year. Obviously, I know that's not going to happen, but I hope everybody stays as healthy as possible this year. I hope every quarterback can play every single game, because the truth is the NFL is just better when starting quarterbacks are playing. When the starting quarterback for a team is playing, the game is just naturally better, and that's just what it is. And then obviously I have the Jets on the list because it's Aaron Rodgers. And if Aaron Rodgers comes back half as good as the Jets quarterback play was last year, the Jets should make the playoffs. Like, let's be honest. The Jets quarterback play last year was abysmal at best. So if Aaron Rodgers comes back and is half of what the Jets quarterbacks were last year, they will be fine. And obviously, if he comes back as Aaron Rodgers, the old Aaron Rodgers, they will be fine regardless. So these are the teams that I think are going to make the playoffs for the AFC. I think it's going to be Kansas City, Baltimore, Jets, Texans, Steelers, Colts, Bengals. Those are my reasons. Yes, I'm being slightly a little bit of a homer, and I'm okay. I'm okay saying that, but I would be an idiot not to believe in the Steelers team, so I'm just going to believe, and that's what I'm going to focus on. So the AFC West can always play spoiler, and I think as I talk to all the different fans in this division, I think sometimes the AFC West becomes missing in conversations just because of where they play and just because they usually play late in the daytime. But at the end of the day, an AFC West team can come and play spoiler to any team, and if the Chargers are getting better, if the Raiders win a couple more games than they did last year, if the Broncos, I'm going to be honest, I don't really believe in the Broncos, but you just never know what can happen in the AFC West. But as of today, I have Kansas City being the only team that comes out of the AFC West just because that is what I feel is going to happen. And I'm just not sure if I've seen enough on paper, obviously, from the Raiders and from the Chargers to really give them that spot. But it wouldn't surprise me if the AFC West finds a way to get a team in the playoffs. And I think that would be cool because it would be different, it would be new, and it'd be refreshing. I'm going to say this just because I'm a homer. Every team that I have listed to potentially be in the playoffs, the Steelers almost play all of them. So I know that I already made a video complaining about the Steelers schedule, and that's fine. But as I was going through this list, I was looking at all of these teams, and I was like, oh, that's funny. Almost every single team that I put on this list, the Steelers actually played next year. Isn't that fantastic? Isn't that just so good for us? No, but seriously, let me know what you think in the comments below. I'll end this video and stop ranting, but let me know if you agree or disagree with what I have here. Let me know if you're thinking about another team. Let me know if you're a fan of a team and you're hoping your team makes it. Let me know what you think about me leaving Dallas off of this list, or if you think any other NFC East team has the potential to make it to the playoffs this year. But these are just my thoughts. These are just my opinions. As I always say, we have no idea what's going to happen. It is the off season still. Yes, training camp is happening. Yes, all these things are going, but we really don't know what's going to happen. So I am just throwing out my thoughts and my opinions right now because absolutely not one single game has been played.